Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So it's been a good minute since we've worked on the 2IS. So on today's video, I'm gonna be swapping out the old mirror I have on here. So this might be a common problem for a lot of you guys with the 2IS, especially the 2006 to 2010 versions, with the mirror delaminating and having all that black stuff in it. So this is an easy retrofit that you can do to convert it to a newer mirror from Gentex with the newer Homelink buttons, the auto dimming, the compass and all that. You just have to make a harness. So I'll show you how to do that all today. In addition, we're gonna put a front and rear dash camera on here using the power from the mirror. So stay tuned. So we're gonna be changing out this factory mirror right here. So my mirror, the glass on it is actually an aftermarket glass. I had that service from Radar Mirror change out this glass. It's been working fine as far as not having those black spots anymore. But the only thing I don't like about it is the response time for dimming. This thing takes 2 or 3 times as long, and it also dims in like a more bronze color, like a golden bronze, versus the original one that dims it really dark blue and black. So I wasn't really happy with that. So that's why I'm gonna do that retrofit today. In addition to that not dimming, I wanted Homelink 4 so it could work with my LiftMaster and my Chamberlain garage door openers instead of having that separate repeater unit. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap that out. So in order to do that, we have to remove this guy up here. So up here, the way to remove this, inside here, there's actually 2 little doors right there. You want to go ahead and just pop those doors and take the Phillips screws right out of there. And once you're in there, you take those out and this thing just drops straight down. So once we get inside of here, we can access that plug that plugs up into this mirror. And from there, I'm going to create a jumper harness, as well as put that 12-volt socket for the power for the dash cam. When you're installing a new dash cam and you're hardwiring it, you want to pay particular attention to where the eye is on the back of the mirror. So on this old mirror, the eye is on the right side, but on the new Gentex mirror, it's gonna be on the left side. So our camera needs to be on the right side so we don't block the actual eye on the back side. If you block that thing with your dash camera, it might get false readings and it might dim and it might not dim for you. So you wanna keep that in mind when you're covering these things up on the back side. Removing the mirror is pretty easy too. It's only a single Torx. I think it's a T20 Torx bit. And all you do is just take that, loosen that up. You don't even have to take the whole screw out, loosen it, and just slide it back. As far as the wiring, you just take this little cover back down here, slide this off, and you can unplug it right here. And then once you unplug it right here, I'm just gonna pull this thing back up to the top and use my jumper harness that I'm gonna make. So the new dash camera I'm installing today is this HawkEvo 4K dash cam. It's a dual dash cam, so it has a front and a rear camera. So the front camera is just that spot. So you actually run a wire all the way to the back to do the rear. This is the part where you attach the dash and then the camera attaches to here, and then you connect the USB-C power to that right there. The rear camera is here. All we have to do is run it along the headliner, probably on the side of the doors, all the way to the back. Pull it out from the headliner and then just stick it to the window with the 3M tape. The camera comes like this. So this part, the mount part, actually is magnetic, and all you do is just snap it in and it stays on with the 2 magnets. You actually charge this thing through the mounting part or actually straight into the camera, depending on how you want to do it. So that's not that bad. The rear one right here mounts with some 3M tape also. Has this really long wire. It's just a regular like headphone coax right here that goes into the side of the camera over here on this side right there. Other than that, this thing has way too much wire that we don't even need. I'm gonna try to tuck it above the headliner if it fits. If not, I might just end up swapping it out and then using a shorter USB and then a shorter USB-C cable. Along with everything else, it comes with some wire management, a little clip popper or panel popper if you need that, and some extra pieces of 3M double-sided tape if you need that, or if you mess up or have to relocate anything. But other than that, pretty much easy plug and play, especially with this hard wire that we're gonna do. This thing's gonna look nice and neat. This thing's gonna tuck behind the mirror nicely where it's hidden from view. As for the Gentex mirror I'm gonna be using, I got this mirror right here. It's out of a newer IS, like a 2012 or 2013. And this is the one that has the compass up here in the corner. Along with the compass, it also has illuminated buttons right here, which is not common for the Gentex mirrors. I think this one came out of an IS without navigation because it had the compass right here in the corner. All the ones that had navigation that I removed didn't have that right there, and it also didn't have the illumination up here. If you saw my last video on this, I explained all this stuff and I actually took it apart and I retrofitted this glass off another version of this mirror that didn't have that window right here for the compass because I didn't like that window. Some of the newer Gentexes that have that compass, they have an ugly window that I don't like, so this one's actually behind two-way glass. So check out that video if you want to hear more about that and see me taking one apart. So right here we've got some harnesses that we're gonna need to make a jumper out of this thing. So there's two ways to actually do the wiring and the retrofit on the 2IS if you already don't have a Gentex mirror. This right here is out of one of the 2006 mirrors. I got this from the junkyard. I just ripped it out of the mirror. This is on the mirror side. This is on the car side. So this is what you're gonna find in your 2006 to 2010 right here. So what you can do is you can get this plug right here, which is the newer plug for the newer Gentex. Depin the one on your car now, and then plug the wires into that new one right here, and it'll plug right into the new mirror, right? So that's one way to do it. If you look at all the wires on the back, they're all the same colors, and you just need to match up the colors in the pen. So the white and black is ground. Then you got the two power wires, which is a black and a pink wire, right? One's switch power and then one's constant power. And then over here, you're gonna have a peach color and like a brownish tan color. Over here is more of an orange and a peach color. So those two are gonna be the ones that you use for your side mirror dimming. So if your car has side mirror dimming, this is very important. If you don't have side mirror dimming, then this is irrelevant to you. The next option you can do is, instead of depinning the car side, you could depin the actual mirror, right? So you could get this harness right here. Just as an FYI, every one of these harnesses has a 5-digit part number that you can see on it. And that part number corresponds back to a part number. You could actually buy this from Toyota, or you could buy it from AliExpress for like $1 or $2 for a set. So I'll link all this stuff down in the description if you guys need any of these part numbers or these parts from AliExpress, or just if you can order it from your dealer, which is gonna be like 5 times the price. So what you can do is you can actually just take apart your mirror right here, undo this thing so it's actually clipped into the mirror right here. You just slide that out, depin it if you have room. This thing is very tight, so I don't know how much room you have to try to depin it, but you could do that. And you could repin this plug right here and then put this plug on the new Gentex mirror. That way the car plugs into the new mirror. This is one way to do it. It's a little bit harder than doing it the other way, but it depends on which of these plugs you have already. The last way you can do it, which is the way I'm going to be doing it, you could create a jumper harness to convert the plug on the car into the plug over here that's plugging into your new Gentex mirror. So what you're going to need is you're going to need this harness right here, the female side off a mirror. So you can get this from the junkyard or from AliExpress, like I said earlier. Check out the links down in the description for that. You can order this thing with the wires already or without the wires. Preferably you want the one with the wires already, so that way you can just solder the wires on. So you want to get this. You want to get this one that comes with your new mirror. You want to match up all the wires right there. So the easiest way is to take this thing like here, match the colors on this side right here to the colors over here, and do the same that way. And then you could solder that together, create a little jumper harness like this. And once you do this jumper harness, you just tuck it above your headliner, plug in the factory harness on this side, plug this into the mirror, and you're gonna be good. For my application, I'm actually gonna put the power for my dash camera using that 12-volt adapter that I cut off one of these splitters that you could buy on Amazon for like $5. So I'm gonna go ahead and create this harness right here, solder it all up, and then put some loom and electrical tape around it to make it look OEM. All right, we'll start this harness by getting all the heat shrink in before we connect the wires. So I'm gonna go ahead and just use this yellow heat shrink, which is about the same size as the wire here. Cut it in half because I don't need it that long. Slide it down into here. You don't want to put it too close to your thing or else it's gonna shrink it while you're soldering. All right, once that's done, we'll just go ahead and start matching wires up. So start with the pink wire right here, match that up. Then we'll just match them all up and start soldering. So the solder, what you want to do is you want to heat up the wire and then let the solder melt into the wire. So all you do is kind of put it underneath for a couple seconds. Once it heats up, then you just basically just touch the wire and it'll melt right in like butter. Make sure it melts in, no clumps, no issues, and then it should be good there. So we'll go ahead and just finish it all. Once you got everything good and your solder joints are nice, go ahead and slide the heat shrink over. Then we'll heat it up to melt it and shrink it down. So the good thing about my soldering iron over here is I've got that little air solder right there. I double that as a heat gun whenever I'm doing these heat shrink things, instead of whipping out the heat gun or a blow dryer. So there it is. We have this nice harness now, loomed up with electrical tape and everything. So it's going to be a nice little plug and play deal for this new mirror that I'm going to put in. And as an FYI, this is probably the same jumper harness if you guys were doing the RCF mirror, the rimless mirror upgrade. So you're going to be using a same exact pinouts and everything. So this is the same thing that will work on that mirror too if you wanted to create one for that. Okay, right after I got this thing done, I realized I forgot to add the power socket I was talking about earlier. So I'm gonna go ahead and just cut this thing. So I bought this 3-in-1 right here splitter on Amazon. This thing was like $7 or $8. If you need something like this, check out the links down in the description. But what we're gonna do is just cut a piece of it off just enough, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just put it on this jumper harness here. And then we want to split the power and the ground. So the power, remember, is the black wire on this 10-pin harness, and then the ground is the white and black. So we're going to split those. The pink wire is the constant power all the time for the Homelink. So before you decide which wire, because this thing's not color coded or anything, you got to identify which one's the ground wire and which one is the positive. So the ring of this thing is going to be the negative right here. So you want to make sure you so we identified it as the wire with the kind of like 3 little grooves in it versus the smooth round wire. So you guys gotta remember that for your ground wire. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just connect it right now, and then I'm gonna de-pen these things when I'm done, and then just slide my heat shrink down into here, just because I don't want to de-solder this. So in order to de-pen, you just pop this little white locking right here, stick a pen right here on the edge, and then pull your wire out. It's pretty stinking easy. Alright, so I got that soldered on. So in order to pop these pins out, you basically just lift this thing up right here just slightly. It clicks out. You'll hear it click. If you need to, you just pop it up from the side. But yeah, once you do that, you just want to go ahead and just stick on your pins you want, just right at the tip here. There's a little spot up top. You just get a needle, like a thin needle, just tuck it in there, and then just pulls right out right there. So go ahead and just do that for both of them. Put the heat shrink on and tie it up. All right, we got everything heat shrinked and soldered onto here. So what you want to do is put it back in the same spot. Just remember which pins you put in. So pin 1 is the power, which is the black wire, and it goes in only one way. You'll hear it click. And then pin 2 is the ground, which is the white and black wire. Plug that in, and then just snap this back down, and it's locked back in place. So we're good now. I'll go put this all back together, and we'll go get this into the car. So everything's bloomed correctly now, so we're good. Look at this. So it looks nice and neat. This is gonna go inside the headliner. This is gonna plug into the existing one, and then this is gonna go down and plug into the mirror. All right, so we're in here. I'll go ahead and remove everything and take this down, and we'll show you what's behind here. So you just go ahead, pop the little covers off with a screwdriver. Phillips screw. This is gonna pull on the front and the rear. Just unplug it right on the side here. Once we're in here, we can see all the stuff up here, and we can plug it up. So since I'm already here, we'll go ahead and remove the stock mirror. You need that T20 Torx bit. Unscrew. Just a little bit, slide it off. Unplug this thing right here, and we're pretty much wide open now. So now we could go ahead, put our new harness that we made here into this. So we'll go ahead and just pull the stock harness back up into here. We're not gonna need that plug anymore. We could plug it into our jumper here. Then fish the new plug down that we're going to be using for the mirror. Tuck this back there. We have the power for the USB for the dash camera. Tuck it up here somewhere where it's out of the way. And then now that we have all this, if you want to mount your camera first, you could do that. Or if you're just doing the mirror by itself, you could put the new mirror in and just plug it up. So we'll just go ahead and show you that. I'll take this thing off for now. Slide that in. Plug that in. There it is. And then, so when you're looking for the cover for the 2IS, there's two options you can use. You can use this one right here, which fits right into the stem and it's the exact size right to the edge right there. Or you could use that shorter one right there with this little cover that I have here where it just slips on and it just slides back. So that's a more of an adjustable one. So that one covers up the wires right there. But as you can see inside here, we have everything ready. Right here for the 12 volt for the dash camera. We have that harness tucked back there. And to test this thing out, you actually have to plug the console back in because it gets power through that console to the mirror. So once we put that in, we could actually test it out and see, make sure the buttons are all working. So for the power for this thing, I've got this big old bundle of wire here. We'll go ahead and just tuck it up above the visor there, wedge everything there and just get enough to plug into the camera. I don't need all this extra slack, but since it's here, I'm gonna have to just tuck it back up there. So the next thing we need to do is fish this wire all the way to the back before we stick anything up for the cameras. So it's pretty easy. Both sides unplug from the camera, the main camera and the rear camera. So all you have to do is just fish this through and then plug it up. The rear camera has a little bit of length right here and a special plug that plugs in. The front side is just a little microphone type plug that. So as far as running it goes, I'm just gonna run it along the edge here. Once I get to the pillar here, I'm gonna pop this pillar out a little bit, run it across here, and then just go across the edge of here through the pillars. So you can pretty much just pull this rubber back and get access to the headliner and just tuck it along the headliner and pull it all the way back to the middle where I'm gonna mount the rear camera. All right, so we were able to run that wire pretty easily across the front. Once you got over here to the curtain airbag right here, this thing pops right out and there's actually a little retaining clip that holds it in so it doesn't pop all the way out. So this is part of the airbag system because the airbag just breaks out of here. It's designed like that so this thing doesn't go flying during an accident. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you get that wire over the airbag right here, and then you want to fish it along the edge on the outside because there's actually an airbag all along here and it pops that way into the car and down. So you want to make sure your wire is on the back side closer to the outside of the car so it doesn't interfere with the airbag deployment. As far as the rubber seal on the outside, the rubber seal is kind of weird because it's actually wedged in first and then the headliner tucks into there, which is a little bit different. So you can actually leave the rubber because if you pull this rubber down, there's actually some grease and stuff back here that gets all of your fingers. So you want to avoid doing that too much, getting that grease out of there. All right, we got it tucked on the outside right here between the rubber and the headliner up to this spot. Once we get here, we actually have to go across the pillar, and easiest way is to remove this panel. In order to do that, you actually have to pop this thing out right here. It's just held on by clips down here, and then there's two Phillips on the inside that hold that panel up. So once you take those two Phillips out, this thing should drop right down, and you should be able to have room to run that wire across along the back rear, and we'll do the same back there because we have a side curtain on the back side too. All right, so once we open that thing up with those two screws, we can access this part right here. So this is a little void right here, which is perfect. If I have some extra slack left, I'm actually gonna zip tie it up and just tuck it in this void to store it. So I'm gonna run the rear piece all the way back and I don't have to worry about trying to store it on that rear pillar. All right, once we got to the back here where the airbag is, once we get there, you just pop this panel out and it's actually open space back here. It's being held on by just these little blue clips. So I want to make sure I tuck that wire under the blue clips because the airbag is up here. I think the actual deployment part is right here. So I want to get the wire underneath that around here. Once I get it back here, I want to make sure it's under the clip, so that way when I pull the wire back, I pull it along this edge here away from the airbags. All right, so we were able to run it all the way back there, all the way to the side here. I pulled back any slack right here. I'm gonna go ahead and wire manage all this. Here's the bundle of wire we got left that we zip tied. I'm gonna just go ahead and tuck it in that void right here, clean everything up on this side and make sure it's all clean, and then stick the cameras on. Once you get it back together, you wanna make sure you put that bundle of wire really tight up top here, just because your seat belt actually slides up into that void. You wanna make sure it clicks into the last spot up here. So yeah, just make sure it clicks in. So that's good. My seatbelt's always on the bottom anyways for the short people, so I'm good there. So for the rear camera, you want to just center it down the center line right here where the camera actually sits, the lens of it, and just make sure you stick it to a spot where you could aim it. So this thing just twists right there and aimed. I'm gonna clean it with some alcohol, stick it there, plug this in, and tuck the rest of this foot that it has right here back into the headliner. Make sure it's nice and clean so it sticks, especially in the hot Florida sun down here. And if you have the defroster lines, you want to make sure you're above the defroster line. You don't want to be on a defroster line because it's going to heat up in that spot. So the front here, we want to be on the side without the photo eye for the mirror. Just want to wipe this whole area nice and dry so we don't have any issues sticking. If you don't have to, try not to stick it in the little bubbly black spots up here because it's not going to stick well. So we just let it dry for a second. So luckily this is a very slim profile camera. We want to make sure we line it up and have enough room on this side for the plug there and to access the SD card. Our power can go onto this base or can go directly inside here. I'm just going to use the base since that's closer and slimmer. You just want to make sure you line that up, have enough space for your plugs, and then decide where you want to go. So right now I just go ahead and put the plugs in just to make sure I have the clearance and it doesn't interfere with the mirror mount. So that's perfect right there. So I'll go ahead and peel the tape right here. Just use the top of the dots to line your spot. Perfect. And since this is a magnetic mount, you go ahead and just mount that nice and securely. Get the power plugged in. Pull any excess back up into the console here. And then once you get that, make sure your lens is peeled. Just mount your camera. We can adjust it right there. Go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and get the SD card in. We'll go ahead and test this thing, make sure everything works. So now that we got everything mounted up, we gotta go ahead and download the Dash Go app for iPhone and get this thing all set up, format the card, and set up all the recording and everything that you need to do. Pretty much it's all plug and play, but we want to make sure that everything's working and recording correctly. So once we get the power in, we could just go ahead and use the touch screen. So we want to format the card, let it format, and then after that, we can just kind of see. So right now you can see the front view and the rear view right there. So the rear view, is it upside down? It looks like it's upside down, I think, unless there's a reflection. All right, we have a little bit of a failure with that rear camera. So my bet was wrong and I mounted it wrong, so it's upside down. So I'm about to peel that thing and flip it around to get it correctly, but everything else is fine. I got everything set up and we're gonna be recording now when we drive. So I got that thing flipped around, so now we're actually recording right side up. So everything looks good there. I might adjust that thing up a little bit higher so I can see behind me and not my trunk lid. You're really trying to record people that might rear end you, and see their license plate. And hey guys, thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video on doing the mirror along with the dash camera for the front and rear. As you can see, that mirror retrofit is going to get you an upgraded mirror with Homelink 4. It's also going to get rid of that delamination and the black spots all over your old mirror. To do this retrofit, all you have to do is just get the harnesses on both sides. Usually you can find all that at the junkyard. If you need any of that stuff, check out the links down in the description. You can order these same mirrors probably for like $50 to $60 on eBay used, if you know what you're looking for on there. If you guys need to know how to identify these mirrors, check out my previous videos where I show you how to identify these mirrors, what to look for, and what features you need, especially for your car. If you guys found this video useful, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to their channel, go ahead and subscribe to their channel to stay on top of all my different DIY videos, whether it's on the Lexus vehicles, on the other cars I have, in the garage, on the house, or whatever. If I can do it, you guys can do it. I want to thank you guys for watching all the way to the end, and I'll talk to you guys next time.